The question I chose for Biology Lab Final Part 2 was if two humans showing a dominant single gene trait were crossed with several offspring produced, would it be possible to determine whether the genotypes of the parents be homozygous or heterozygous? Like this is from Lab 6 Inheritance. The independent variable in this question would be genotype parents, and the dependent would be phenotype offspring. But before we can get into making a hypothesis and showing the evidence, we need to know some key terms. First is what are genotypes and phenotypes. Genotypes are someone's genetic makeup. So when you see words like big B, little b, big B, little b, that's someone's genetic makeup. If you're homozygous, you would have the same capital letter. If you're heterozygous, you have one lowercase, one capital uppercase. And of course, I didn't mention this before, but if you're homozygous, you can have lowercase as well, but they have to be the same lowercase. A phenotype is an organism's observable trait, so it's the ratio of what you have. So let's say there's 3 people in your family with brown hair, one with blonde hair, 3 people with brown eyes, one with blue eyes. The example I wrote was 3 peas. There's 3 yellow peas, 1 green pea. Now, the second thing, what are homozygous and heterozygous? We kind of went over this before when we were talking about genotypes, but homozygous are 2 identical alleles. So again, capital P, lowercase p. The heterozygous is 2 different, so the only way it could be a heterozygous is 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase. My hypothesis is if 2 humans showing a dominant single trait were crossed with several offspring it produced, would it be possible to determine the genotypes of the parents to be homozygous and heterozygous? It would evidence statement. We can figure this out by using both a Punnett square and a pedigree. These are both ways you can visually determine what offspring you would have, the genotype fraction and the phenotype fraction. A Punnett square can give us both. It can show us the genotype ratio and the phenotype ratio. So again, that's 3 to 1 we were talking about earlier, and it can show us how many offspring have 2 uppercase pp's, 2 lowercase pp's, and a uppercase and lowercase p. If you have 2 lowercase, that means you have a recessive trait, which you're going to get the odd trait, which is blue eyes, most commonly compared to brown eyes. If you have an uppercase p, and lowercase p, the dominant allele will show, meaning you'll have brown eyes. So if you have one of those dominant alleles, well, you're going to have brown eyes. But now, what is a pedigree? A pedigree can only show us visually the phenotype. However, we can determine what genotypes are which through a pedigree. They can show us what's going to happen from generations down and going down, depending on how many children each offspring then have. And below, in my description, I did put a example what a pedigree and Punnett square is, but that is the evidence showing that it is possible to determine if an offspring is homozygous or heterozygous.